Hi, this is Valerie Medina. Welcome back to Spiritual Sauce with my co host, Christine Boschen. Today, we have a truly fascinating episode in store for you. We're actually conducting a live soul empowering hypnosis session. The goal of the SEH session is to not only access the subconscious mind, where many of our limiting beliefs and negative patterns are stored, but to connect with the wisdom of our inner knowing, the soul guides, spirit friends, and ancestors, and to tap into the wisdom and love that has been there all along, supporting us our entire life and all lifetimes. Now, the trick is during this SEH session, I will facilitate as Christine deeply relaxes into a meditative state where she can then begin to channel her higher energy, her soul, her guides, because Christine is a skilled channel and medium. The last session that I facilitated with Christine, she channeled her higher wisdom with her soul and her guides. And what we're going to do today is ask her soul while she is in this deep meditative state. We're going to ask her soul some questions, and hopefully, her spirit guides will come in and give us some wisdom, as they did the first time we did this. We had this experience when you channeled. So
That's right.
it
That's
was
right. That was actually the session where it was before we were doing spiritual sauce when we realized that we had to do this. It was in that moment
yeah.
in time that we were like, oh my gosh, we have something to do together. Yeah.
So I'll be asking her questions about spirituality and the nature of our soul's purpose. And whether you're a skeptic or a believer, we believe this session will spark your curiosity and wonder and provide you with insights you might not have encountered before. So, Christine, you want to get in a nice
Yeah,
position and
I do. And before I do that, I do want to add just one thing that came up for me right now, which is I have a little bit of jitters. Like you mentioned, I'm experienced at this and you're experienced at this, but there's something I think very human about, like that performance anxiety or that, when you're receiving hypnosis, well, gosh, what's going to happen? Am I going to actually be able to do what I'm trying to do here? So I just want to acknowledge that that's a normal feeling.
yeah, it
And
is.
yes.
There's an excitement about it. But of course, you begin to close your eyes and breathe deeply, and then you start to um, relax into it, and you feel everything slowing down and start to relax. So
Right. So I'm
that's
just
the
like
wonderful part about
I'm sorry, go ahead.
that's the wonderful part about the process.
It is. And to that effort, I'm going to get a little cozier here. So I'm just like right now,
Okay.
I'm just making sure that my back has got the right amount of support and I have my shawl in case I get cold. So,
Yes, that's
like,
important to um, prepare and get ready during an SEH session.
mhm,
Also, just to check, do you
mhm.
have to use the restroom?
Thank you. That has been taken care of already. So we're good. But I think
Okay,
one more pillow
okay,
and then, yeah, then we can get started.
okay, great.
Okay. Yeah. Almost there. Okay. Ready.
Okay. Now go ahead and start to enjoy the feeling of having your eyes closed. Begin to focus on your breathing, which should be deep and regular. From way up to way down. And as you're taking those nice, deep, relaxing breaths, begin to really enjoy the feeling of nourishing oxygen as it flows in with each in breath. and really enjoying the feeling of releasing, letting go, relaxing more and more with each out breath. Continuing to feel the energy of letting go and relaxing with each out breath. Now go ahead and from your heart, invite in a loving energy of protection. This energy may be white or have a different color. Inviting now this energy to flow in from the top of your head all the way down to the tips of your toes, down behind your eyes, your nose, your mouth, into your neck and shoulders as you allow the energy down into your arms, all the way down to your hands and out the tips of your fingers. Breathe in the energy into your chest, your tummy, your hips and thighs, knees, legs, ankles, and feet. Allow the energy to flow throughout your body, flowing into each part more and more with each breath. Now allowing in this loving energy of protection so much so that your body is filled and bathed with this wonderful energy. Allowing even more now so that you begin to glow and radiate this energy of loving protection. And, and as you continue taking those nice, deep, relaxing breaths, go ahead and from your heart, send out an invitation, a request, letting your soul, your guides, your spirit friends, your ancestors, and the universe know that you are open and you are ready for the loving wisdom, the healing energy, and the helpful guidance that would like to share with you. Sending that invitation now from your heart, and just let me know when that is complete. Take your time, there's never any rush.
I'm ready.
Good. Now, if you would like, we could move into the next exercise.
Please.
If you would like, go ahead and invite in a really loving, beautiful being with wings. It may be a bird or a butterfly, an angel, a fairy, a dragon, any loving being with wings, and let it come in however it would like to. You may
She's here.
see it. What are you experiencing?
So she came in as a Pegasus, a white Pegasus horse, glided in to my right, in front of me to the right. And then as she came closer, she became one of my guardian angels, who is our pet bird who passed about 10 years ago. She's a beloved of mine, a family member. And so she shapeshifted from Pegasus into bird. Very,
Oh,
very soft energy. Related to Kuan Yin.
oh,
And Mother Mary was here first. Mother Mary was the energy that came through me. And when she came through me, I became cloaked in her. Like she superimposed her beingness into my body. And then as I got down to the lower half of my body, she became the corn goddess, the native goddess that has been superimposed with the Mother Mary.
and
And
I'm
it's
seeing,
so beautiful.
yes. Now, is there a message that she'd like to share with you today?
Keep it simple.
That's what she said?
Yeah, I think I really needed to hear that because we all have these limits we put on ourselves, or these doubts that we try to make it complicated. She says, keep it simple.
Right.
You're on the right path. You always have been, you always will be. And that is a message for everybody out there. You are supposed to stumble and bumble and bump your way through life. That is the earth plane. Plain and simple. That is the earth plane. So don't expect yourself to be all like awash in Pegasus, in the glow of a Pegasus, right? Like
Right.
they are here washing you with light, and yet you are not supposed to embody that. Although you do at times hold that grace and wonder in the same kind of a way that a sunbeam can find its way through the parting leaves of the trees as the breeze blows through, and you are happening to stand in the right place at the right time to feel the gentleness of that wind and hear the rustling of the leaves and feel the sun coming to meet your skin cells in a way that your skin cells recognize and remember the star energy of starlight, which is your sun. And yet it is fleeting, right? And so then you might actually be so enraptured with this that stub your toe, and then you're like, oh, ouch, damn, or whatever it is that you say when you do these things. So life is like that. You are not supposed to be 100% enraptured and rapturing all the time. Keep
Okay.
it simple, keep it light, and remember to laugh at the bumbling, stumbliness of it all.
So I suspect you're ready to channel, Christine.
I think we're there. I think we're there.
Yeah, I think we're there. Okay.
Yeah.
So, so Christine, I have some really profound questions, and I hope that your soul and your guides are prepared to answer these questions that I have. Do I have
So
permission?
Valerie, excuse me to interrupt you, but the
Sure.
guides are interrupting because they're saying, yeah, we get it, Valerie, they're profound, but they're like, but Christine is channeling our response to that right now. That is the response.
Okay, let's do it. Let's
Profound it
do
is.
it.
Let's go for it. You said play, let's
Okay.
play. All right,
Okay.
there we go.
What is the purpose or mission of humanity on earth?
This is something that we cannot give you the answer to this question, because it is for you to explore and experience in an embodied way. And in fact, this is exactly the answer to your question. There is meant to be a mystery involved here, and there's meant to be a spiritual practice involved here, and that spiritual practice is meant to involve listening deep within and seeking community. And for that, we would like to applaud and remind you that your spiritual traditions have deep meaning, particularly in the places of worship where you have been practicing over time. and the hallowed ground that is sacred. And so we were invoking the memory of the corn and the blessing of the corn and the blessing of the waters and the blessing of the soil and of the land and of the cactus, the cacti, and of the peoples. For you are all holy and sacred. Each one of you are coming from sacred indigenous places. And so it is as you have journeyed through your many lifetimes of incarnation on this planet that you will be able to experience different places and peoples and nature of things. And yet there is always this inner wisdom that calls you forward and calls you backward home simultaneously. And it is this interesting dichotomy of the concept of time being linear, forward and backward, when it is all still now time and now being on a round planet. And do you see how this is very interesting to be living on a round planet with a linear concept of time? And so we draw you backwards through your most ancient traditions as you find your path of healing includes weaving backward into time to collect all of the missing pieces and the links that need to be rewoven. And Christine will talk more about that some other time. She has been playing with these threads of ideas for a while in her own internal practice. So we send you backwards to your ancestors, and Christine is being given the image of a church in Eastern Germany that was wood. It was all wooden, and she had a recognition on a DNA level of being there back in time with her ancestry, the Boschen lineage, being from Germany, and she could feel herself in these places. And Valerie, for you, Christine is bringing forward the corn goddess so that you may remember and feel yourself in those places. And it is such that we remember our ancestors and that we bring them forward to us into the present day through our healing practices, which is both a matter of remembering and projecting into the future. And to remember the future is a similar experience to remembering the past. It is a way of connecting forward and backward in time with the human spirit, the humanity, for you are all one traveling together across many lifetimes and through many experiences. And have we lost the thread of the question, or is that sufficient, Miss Valerie?
I think that's sufficient. I mean, it's a big question, and it encompasses so much, but that was a beautiful answer. Thank you. Now, what role does love and compassion play in the human experience?
Finding your way to your heart is a simple practice of being alone and lonely and surrendering to a higher light in your darkest moments in time. We're going to let it be that simple answer for now and allow you to feel into the wonderment of that. That somehow your grief, somehow your darkest moments, somehow your most terrible of terrible places are portals, entry points of light and healing that connect you to that thread and that undercurrent of love, which is the universal language, the universal substance, the universal connective tissue and energy of all that is. And so it is through your darkest moments in time that you are snapped out of your hypnotic forgetting. And for it is ironic that, Valerie, you practice hypnosis as a way to remember, because we would say that the hypnotic state that you help people achieve is more of the true awake, alive awareness and beingness than is the day-to-day zombie behavior of walking through life forgetting, which is like
Yes.
life itself hypnotizes you out of remembering or being or truly just being, really. And so these moments of time that are despairing, despairful, did we just make up a new word in the English language? We're trying to help Christine create an adjective. Times that are of this certain flavor of despair are windows and portals into the remembering of the all that is, of the love and the compassion that you mentioned. Compassion is an aspect of love, which speaks to
Yes.
connection and being able to recognize the other in oneself and oneself in the other.
Yes. So, how can we enhance our connection with our higher selves and our inner wisdom?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Christine is not quite the vessel to accomplish what we were trying to express, but she's going to give it a try. Valerie, take
Okay.
your earplugs out because it's going to be a little noisy. Ha! There it is. I feel good. Na, 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 na. You know that I would now. Okay, so Christine's a little embarrassed because she doesn't know how to channel James Brown, but that is really the energy that wants to come through. It's really the exuberance of life. It is the unhinged sexuality in a way that is grounded and playful and beautiful and correct, and it is the dancing and strutting on stage, and it is the bass and the drum and the horns keeping pace with the choir, the background singers and the main singer on stage, and is the enjoyment of the peacock behavior of it all, of the letting yourself express yourself and be
Hmm.
exuberant, be in your body, be in your joy. When it comes through, let yourself make a noise. Watch out, Valerie, here it comes again. Ah,
Ah, your guides are funny.
they are funny.
Ah.
Oh,
So, what insights can you provide on the concept of collective consciousness and its influence on humanity?
well, it's like this, okay? So if you are if you are playing a record player, right? You have a record player. We all remember what those are like, or maybe the kids, the youngsters don't, but they can imagine that they're streaming a particular station. They have picked a particular artist on their streaming system. Or those of you who do remember records, you would have a shelf of records, and you would
Hmm.
take one record out at a time and you would play it. And so you can think of like the needle coming down to the record, and the mechanism of the record moving around, and the needle is like your brain is that needle. Your brain is that ability to perceive. It is that point of perception. And the point of perception is very important here. It's this focused point of perception. And yet, that shelf of records exists. And so you're playing one record at one time in this point of perception. And yet, you can imagine that your next door neighbor, the person two doors down from you in the apartment complex, or down the block in your cul-de-sac, or on the other side of the city, may have a different collection of records, or maybe they even have the same collection of records, or at least some overlapping records. And they can put their point of perception, their brain down, and start playing that music, and then they are feeling into that wavelength, or that set of frequencies, or that mathematical equations playing out through the voices and the soundings. And yet there is the records of all time, of all music, of all beingness that exists. And so you are creating artificial sensations of otherness so that you can focus in on individual points of perception. And we are feeling very musical today.
Okay. So that was a big answer. What um, can you offer guidance on how to find one's life purpose and
Ah,
and contribute? How can that life purpose contribute to the greater good?
so we're going to show you something as a way to to invite you into the wonder of it all, into the playfulness of it all. There's a river. The river is winding and flowing, and the river is made out of this beautiful sinuosity. It's sparkling water, and yet it is not. It is actually a little bit more like taffy. You can imagine something with more viscosity, with more texture and more weight, and it is pulling you forward, and you are diving into it, and then now you are dancing and floating and swirling in it. And so you humans have a way. It's not even that it's you humans, because there are many humans that understand things differently, but your culture, let's just call it this, your set of rules and expectations and framework that you might call the Western civilization at this point in time, is so serious. You think life purpose, you think, oh, I can get it wrong, like Christine was saying before we started coming through with her today, Valerie, before you helped her get into the state of relaxation. She was worried, she had performance anxiety, she wanted to know whether she was going to be helpful or valuable or on point, or could she even listen, could she even participate, would she be able to do it. And so when you ask yourself life purpose, how do I find it, oh my goodness, come on, Dive, play, feel, let your heart pull you forward. Can you feel that energy?
Yes.
And do you feel the wonder and the sparkle and delight and the beauty and the sinuosity of it? Let yourself be sinuous. And for those of you who are not familiar with this word, look it up when you are done listening to this recording. Write it down, sinuous. And we would like to also remind you that it is similar to the word sinew, and we would like you to look up that word as well. Feel, watch how this energy is moving through Christine as she is allowing herself to be a full body channel, not just a vocal. See the motion and the energy changing. And so you find your own rhythm, your own sinuosity, your own radius of curvature of your own river. And so life purpose is supposed to turn and evolve and carry you. And there's no wrong river to choose, you see. You are here to play. You are here to be of play and of service. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for this
you.
most important question so that we may bring forward these most important answers.
So, can you provide some insights into the concept of karma?
Ha! Da, 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 da. I feel good. Do, 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 do. I knew that I would now. Do, do, do. So listen, it's all good. So karma is another one of those weighty, heavy, oh no, I did this, now it's going to happen to me and I can't ever escape the it's
Right.
karma has become very overlaid. And Christine had some struggle today as she was deciding whether or not to bring the rosary with her because she feels the weight of Christianity. And so
Many people do, yes.
yes, and it's not just Christianity, it's other religions too. Not all of them, not all of the major religions, but several of them, enough of them that encompass the predominant thought forms in your particular culture and place, and those who would probably be listening to you in the English language. There's a very heavy layer of the concept of guilt, sin, and consequence. And karma is caught in the undertow and undercurrent of these concepts of guilt, sin, and consequence. We'd rather you to think about it as seeing two sides of the same coin. And so if you were to pick up a penny, or let's say a dime or a quarter, but let's have you, we're going to ask you to pick up the coin which you are familiar with, but which you forget the most. You don't remember what one side looks like and the other. And we would like you to imagine, is this a coin in your own American pocketbook? And we know that you all are onto Bitcoins and what the heck have you, and all these different kinds of electronic currency these days. But if you were to imagine a pocket full of coins and they are all two-sided, let your mind draw you to the one that is shining at you. It's like it's in your penny jar, and there's this one penny that has just a little bit more shine and buffer. It looks a little bit newer, or maybe it looks older. It's the one that has your curiosity sparked, and you're going to go and you're going to pick up that coin and you are going to study it, but you will study it one side at a time. And when you have studied that side and you really feel into the memory, the memorization of that, then you will flip it to the other side and you will experience that. And then you put it down and you forget about it. And you come back to it again. You say, do I remember that coin? And I'm not so sure. Maybe I remember that was Lincoln on that particular coin, or maybe it was Kennedy, or we don't actually know. And the shape of the nose on the head that is on the coin had a certain angle, or maybe it didn't, and maybe there was some lettering on it that we forgot, and there was a certain date on it and a mint, and these little details. And so you remember some of the details, but not all of them. So you study it again, one side and then the other. And then maybe you spend a session where you're going one side, other, one side, other, one side, other, one side, other, and getting so frustrated, or maybe you're spinning on it and you get caught in it, and then you say, oh my gosh, I really need a break. I have to go out and take a walk. I need some sunshine on me. I need to look at the leaves and the trees. and remember that there's other things to focus on. And karma is that. Karma is an exploration of opposites. Karma is an exploration of the dance of togetherness. Karma is a way of being humans together and of being humans and other non-human members of the earthbound family together. And so you try one side of an experience and then you try the other. And you are not always coming back to the same place in time. You are spiraling and you are learning and you are growing. And so there is a growth and an expansion and an evolution, which is not just the shape of one side or the other. And so it is all good. Na 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 na. Right? It's all
So
good.
so you're saying there's no karma is just opposites. It's just
Karm
different sides of the same coin. There's not it's not a judgment of good or bad,
right.
just
And so
experience.
right. And that is why we are bringing dear beloved James to remind you through Christine's very bumbling and apologetically terrible condition. Well, not terrible, but you know what we're trying to say. She's just being her real self and doing her best to bring through the energy that wants to come here and play with all of you. And yet you will remember, and maybe we'll go look up some old videos where you can listen to James and really appreciate his playfulness. And we want you
Yes,
to feel that playfulness, right? We want you to feel
right.
that impish naughtiness of exploration and joy, because karma is really about that, even in its heaviest of points and moments. And so if you can say, hey, thank you, Christian dogma, for giving me centuries and centuries of this taste. It's really, we want you to think about these energies and ideas as being something that has a taste, something that has a color, something that has a shape, something that has a sound. And you can say there's the concept of guilt, and there's the concept of perfection or being without guilt, or and the angel and the devil and the god and the like, the heaven and the hell and all of that. And these have tastes and flavors. And when you can think about, you're making a meal and you're going to eat some dinner, you may have something that has some bitterness on the table, you may have something that has some saltiness on the table, you may have something that has some sweetness on the table, you may have something that has some sourness on the table, you may have this other concept of umami, and now we are into a number of 5 flavors rather than 4. And so you don't judge yourself for tasting something. You may assign a favorite taste. You may say, I would much rather eat something sweet than I would like to eat something bitter, or that was too much salt or too little sugar, for example. But you wouldn't fault yourself for the tasting of it. And so we would suggest to you that you could consider not faulting yourself for the tasting of any of these other ideas, be it the idea of sin and redemption, or the idea of karma.
Okay. So can you tell us a little bit on how we can balance material pursuits with spiritual growth and well-being?
Well, again, it is really about you making some kind of distinction between the two that is where you go astray. And that is not your fault, my dear friend. It is actually that you are tapping into a concept in the collective that is ready to shift and is shifting. And so you are grabbing onto this taste bud that is at the tasting edge of things. And so it is like humanity is sending out their tongue, much as you could imagine a lizard would. The lizard goes, exploration,
Hmm.
exploration, exploration. And you're tasting and you're saying, could I taste a different experience from this artificial separation that I've made between the spiritual pursuits and the physical pursuits? Could I taste them being maybe both okay? And once I tell myself that they're both okay, what is it that I want to experience today? And how is it that my breath and my embodiment is the same thing as my spiritual beingness, and that I am a spirit having a physical experience in form, and that I will be here for a short period of time or maybe a long, because time is really deep and eternal all at the same time that it is fleeting and gone in an instant. May I savor, may I, what is the verb, Valerie, that Christine is healing, because to say gozar or gozar feels different than savor. And so, can I savor and gozar the feeling and the exploration of these different ways of being here, feeling the weight of our bodies here, and the spark of life within our bodies through our breath and our soul being embodied. It is a miracle. It is a constant, ever evolving miracle.
So, what actions can individuals and communities take to contribute to the healing of the planet?
Oh, you are. Oh, you are. We're so proud of you. We're watching the planet Earth shake and shift and heal all over the place. There are words that are coming up into popularity in the collective, such as trauma. Just the fact that trauma is now a word that gets play is an
Yeah.
indication of your attention to it, and thereby your healing of it, because where your attention goes, your evolution begins. You're doing it. We could talk more on this, but I think what we really need to say, or Christina's listening and hearing that what we really need to say at this moment, is a very simple message of encouragement, that to heal is your birthright, to be well is your birthright. Do you remember? You may, some of you will, because it is a toy that had its moment in time, probably in the 1970s. There was a doll. It was a blow up doll that had sand in the base, and you would knock it over, boom, and
Oh,
it would
yeah.
bounce right
With a
back up.
clown.
Boom.
And you
Yes, it
punch
was a
it.
clown. Exactly. Exactly. And you are this, not that. You're not plastic with sand at your feet and filled with hot air or cold air or whatever that expression might be. But
But we
you
fall
are,
down and get up.
yes, but really the idea is that you have this innate understanding of what it means to be healed. This is you. This is you. All pathways lead back to you. There's no wrong pathway. There is no wrong amount of time. There is no brokenness about you or the planet or yourselves or each other or any of it, because all pathways are the healing pathway, are the healed pathway. And yes, you could say, oh, but people die. Yeah, well, whatever. Life is a continual cycle of embodiment and the leaving of the body, of embodiment and the leaving of the body, of coming back into form and the leaving. And it is a wheel. It is a wheel. It is like the wheel of breath. Just like the sun rising and the sun setting as your planet rotates around the sun, and the moon going through the phases.
So, speaking of death, where do we go when we die?
Ha ha! I feel good. I knew that I would now. So good, so good, about you. We don't need to answer that question for you right now, except for just to give you reassurance, because it is all for you to explore and experience and participate in. And should we tell you what you would see, we're not really giving you what you're looking for. We're just speaking to the small inner child in you that is afraid. And so we'd rather say, and now Christine is going to understand and make the connection here to the pile of stuffed animals that wanted to participate in this channeling event today. You are not alone. You are not to be afraid. You are so well and divinely deeply held and comforted. Dear sweet child, dear sweet children, there's nothing to fear. And it's for you to find in every day of your existence your pathway to healing, for there is so much trauma, so many layers and layers of trauma. And this is not wrong. This is not a wrong turn that humanity took. This is just that deep exploration of karma. And those of you that are here at this point in time have chosen to be here at this point in time, as you have chosen to be here at many other points in time, for a reason, for an experience, for being a part of this evolutionary turning, this moment in time in which there is vast, vast healing. And so you could look at there being vast wrongs, but really what that is just We're pulling back the curtains to the rabbit hole, to the secret tunnel towards your own inner healing destiny. And each one of you
Every,
has the most miraculous of stories to unfold and to follow. Everyone is unique and yet all connected, all a part of the whole.
so, can you provide guidance on managing stress and anxiety? And
We're going
for
to give you, excuse
some
us,
of us who
please.
have negative thought patterns, as they come up, are there ideas? You have some things that we could do for
Yes,
that.
we have some very simple tips and techniques. And one of them is to get a bucket or a bathtub or whatever way that you can put your feet into a warm vessel of water. So something large enough for both feet and maybe a little bit up to the side of your ankles. And we would suggest Epsom salts, although any kind
Mm,
of salt water will be healing and soothing. Allow your feet to be soaked in warm water with salts. For so many of you are electrolyte depleted.
ah,
And you need to nurture yourself and you need to give yourself simple moments in time that you can accommodate that aren't too big or heavy of a lift. So you might say, I can't draw a bath. I don't have a bathtub in my apartment. Or maybe
right.
I do have a bathtub, but I don't want to deal with the water bill that would be related to heating that much water. Or I don't have the time to soak in a bathtub for an hour. Or I don't even want to be wet for that long. So allow yourself 10 minutes of foot soak time. We think that most of you would be able to accommodate this, including even heating water in a microwave, for example.
Hmm. Hmm. Something so simple.
Simple,
Um,
simple and easy. And then there is something else that is really quite useful. And Valerie, you started with this, which is breathing
mhm.
and feeling grateful for oxygen. And if you are having a difficult time feeling this gratitude, go be around trees, particularly trees that are in leaf or in evergreen needle at the point in time that you were visiting with them, because they give off oxygen as they take in your carbon dioxide. And so there is a reciprocal appreciation here.
Mhm.
And in particular, you may notice in the morning, there's more oxygen around the trees, and you can really feel that oxygen entering your lungs and into your bloodstream. And we cannot stress we cannot overstress the importance of sunlight and getting outside every day. And so, in your modern ways of connecting, you may be at home working from home all day and you are connected to the internet on a computer. You may be very interested in the goings on of your computer screen or your cell phone or your tablet, et cetera, et cetera. Or you may be driving, or you may be on a bus or in a train, mass transiting your way to a hermetically sealed office space. And so the lucky ones of you that actually work outside are further and fewer between than you used to be. And so we do need to remind you something that should not need any reminding, which is go outside every day, at least 15 minutes. Start with 15
Mhm.
minutes. This may be on your lunch break. This may be giving yourself an extra 15 minutes in the morning so that you can pause. And so, humans, you see, you think you're so busy and you think that your life is so important, but what would happen if you set an alarm clock for yourself? You know that all of your phone devices have such clocks on them. And you were to say, okay, I'm mindlessly surfing the web right now, and I'm going to set an alarm clock to go off 15 minutes from now, and then another 15 minutes after that. And after the first 15 minutes, I will get up and go outside. And I will just be. And being is a little scary for some of you because you are so hypnotized by the daily life, which is not life at all, you see. And so when you start to disconnect from your habitual stupor, and we don't mean to say you're stupid, we're trying to use that word that indicates a forgetfulness, a
Mhm.
numbing,
Mhm.
that you could participate in the blowing of the breezes.
Mhm.
And if the birds song, the birds are there trying to get your attention, trying to play with you, as are the plants and the trees and the breezes and the rocks. Here's here's an assignment for all of you listening, or for those of you who would like to play in this way. Go about the next day or maybe two or maybe week and look for a rock. there will be a rock that calls out to you and says, "Hey, pick me up. Take me home and wash me, please." And then I will be your friend for a while until you know that it's time for me to move on. And then you will place me somewhere else. Or maybe I will be your lifelong friend, but I am here to be your friend. And I'd like you to pay attention to me, or I am paying attention to you.
You
The earth
mentioned
is
gratitude earlier. I'm sorry, am I interrupting you? Go ahead.
the earth is just so marvelously here to co-create with you, and you are a part of she, and she is a part of you. And all of her children and beings are your brothers and sisters. So you're here to play and be loved. You're here to be cherished and to cherish. And so don't worry if you're scared to make these changes. Start with the little ones. Hey, if you really need to put your finger into a glass of warm water with salt, start really small. One finger at a time.
Yeah. So you talked about gratitude a little earlier. What
Oh, did
is
I?
the role? Yes. What is the role of gratitude and positive thinking in personal development?
Well, gratitude is also a concept that's really getting its moment in the spotlight, so to speak. It is
Yes.
one that is
Yes.
talked about to the point of maybe a little bit of exhaustion, and so we don't want to force you into a state of feeling grateful, or talk to you about something that maybe you keep hearing about and you want a little bit of a break from. And so, could you be grateful for the break? Could you be grateful for just saying, "Ah, I don't want to talk about or hear that." It's this connection with your own center of appreciation that we are hoping to awaken you to, or to help you awaken yourself within.
Okay.
For it
Well,
is appreciation and noticing are very, very similar energies.
yes. Yes. When you bring things into the present, into your consciousness,
When you are
and you
paying attention
conscious.
to them,
Yes. Yes.
and in the act of paying attention, we bring you back to the taste and the flavors. You may not appreciate bitterness very much, although there are many of you that do appreciate and enjoy bitterness as a flavor and understand the medicinal qualities of bitterness. But you may be paying attention to something that you do not like at all. And so there is something for you to understand and experience in this game of opposites. Whereas you may find Esther Hicks, she is a wonderful channel,
Mm-hmm.
and her collective guides, Abraham, will remind you of the rockets of intention and desire that are set off every time that you notice something that you do not like. It shoots you in the opposite direction towards something that you do. And so those of you who have roller skated or rollerbladed or ice skated will understand that the forward motion is created from two opposites that push off of each other. There's I go this way and then I go that way, and then I go this way and then I go that way, and that is how I go forward.
Mm-hmm. So another concept that people seem to be talking a lot about is the shadow self.
Hmm.
Um, how important is integrating and understanding the things that bother us in order to, or traumatize us or trigger us in order to heal those things? How important that is that to a soul's growth?
Well, a shaman or a shaman would remind you that it is about retrieval of fragments of the soul that have splintered off.
Mm,
And so you are using language, Valerie, from your vernacular, which is to be very, very much focused in the polarities, the this and the that, the yin and the yang, the up and the down, the good and the bad, the light and the dark. And yet, it is really about a process of shattering and fragmenting and losing and retrieving. And trauma happens in this explosion process. And so you can think of the event that we will call traumatic is really a process of an explosion that sends parts of you hiding.
hmm
And so you are playing pickup sticks. Do you remember this game?
Yeah, I do. Yes.
And as you find them, each one of them is to be held and cherished. And we bring you back to the flavors. You may not like the energy that you remember or feel or experience. And Christine, in doing her own shadow work and interestingly enough, she would not have actually coined this or thought about it like this, but she is exploring what word she would put to the process. And she has observed with the science training that she has, which has taught her to be an observer and a cataloger of experiences, that to heal from trauma is very much to recognize that trauma is like a lightning strike that burns the ground and scorches the tree or the person that was unfortunate enough to be the tallest one around to get struck by the lightning bolt. But trauma then separates energies out into different frequencies. So, where you might have the whole, which is all of the energetic vibration of that particular soul signature. For you, soul signatures are complex, wondrous, and beautiful signatures of light and of sound. And these your own special signature, which is made up of different components of vibrational frequencies, then scatters. And you become unable to shine in your full vibrancy when you are missing parts of your shine. And yet, to find parts of your shine, you have to go back and you have to see that moment in time, or you have to feel that moment in time, or you have to experience that moment in time, which comes back to you in different shards and pieces. So you might have a feeling at a different moment that you have the actual memory of what happened. And so the medical community may call this post traumatic stress disorder, but it is not at all a disorder, as it is a remembering. And to say to remember is to recall, and it is also to put back into place the members of the whole.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can call it shadow work, but we might prefer that you call it pickup sticks.
Mm-hmm.
And to emphasize that you can really only take one stick at a time. And so it is a very involved process to remember yourself into wholeness. And as you remember yourself into wholeness, the magical and wondrous thing that happens is that you actually expand into a greater, beautiful, radiant beingness than you were to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And so you are never going back to that moment in time. You are always expanding and evolving because we all are an ever expanding expression of God, of God's light.
Yes. That was a beautiful answer.
We only bring beauty and a bit of impishness.
So, are you ready to come back?
Well, we would like to give you a chance to tour the fabulousness that is us, because we came in on the wings of a fluffy horse angel that turned into a bird that morphed into James Brown, but had actually begun as the Virgin Mother and the corn goddess and the goddess of the springs. And now, isn't that pretty funny?
Yes, that is beautiful. Now, would you like to share anything more?
Oh, and stuffed animals are also saying, "Don't forget about us."
Oh, yeah.
Would I like to share anything more? We are so excited that the two of you found each other. We have been trying to put you in touch with each other for a while now, and you kept not seeing the signs that we were sending. Do you have any idea how many times you had coffee in the same coffee shop at the same time and
What?
didn't run into each other?
Oh my goodness.
Do you
That's
realize how
amazing.
close you have been in each other's orbits for quite a while now, and we're just not paying attention?
Well,
Talk about pickup sticks.
how often can you have psychic discussions with someone? I mean, it's not like it's, hi, my name is Christine. I'm a channel.
Well, yes, and yet, and so the two of you have been finding your way through your own layers of insecurity and self-doubt, and yet you were within each other's orbits in the East Bay for quite a while now, and we think that is pretty hilarious that it took you until now. However, we do understand it's all everything in the right time in the right place, and so we are just so delighted and tickled that you would be participating in this adventure with us and us with you. So thank you very much to the two of you.
Thank you. Um, is there anything, Christine, that you would like to ask your guides to illuminate on, or anything else?
Well, there was a message that came through for you just right now, Valerie. We started with the mother energy, so it could be your own mother. There was a mother who was very gently brushing your hair away from your eyes
Oh,
and kissing you and hugging you and holding your hand. And I believe that that mothering energy is to go out to all who are listening.
yes,
Can you take
that's
a
beautiful.
moment to settle into the gentle presence of protection and recognition and knowingness of you, that you are known and you are beloved and you are held and you are forgiven and you are reassured and you are comforted. And we love you.
And that message is for everyone listening.
Yes, absolutely.
So, as we begin the process of wrapping up, I just want you to send out your love and gratitude to all who have helped us here today,
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
and let them reciprocate and send their love and gratitude back to you, and feel their appreciation and love, and how much they support you and are rooting for you. And take your time and let me know when that's complete.
They're asking for me to do that for myself, but also to reinforce the message that all of you who are participating in this event with us are so, so deeply cherished and held. Whatever your worries are, whatever your heartaches are, you are so, so deeply held, so celebrated, so appreciated for your own quirkiness and your own wonder and your own dark areas and difficulties and struggles, for they are the shadow that offsets the light in the same kind of a way that a beautiful gemstone would be held in a setting. You are so divinely appreciated and celebrated. Each and every one of you are a jewel of light, a jewel of water, a jewel of life. And with that, we wish you a pleasant, good day, a good morning. Wherever you are, it's morning somewhere. Christine is being invited to open her eyes from this side of the
Okay.
experience. Valerie, is that lining up with where you are as well?
Yes, yes.
Grounding myself in the room, noticing the bright light in my face, the beautiful plants with me, the stones, the water, my friend Valerie on the other side of the Zoom call, angels.
Now, Christine, would you like to talk about that experience and just let us know, kind of talk to us about what happens when you channel?
Hmm. Hmm. Well, so it's just so natural. And really, gosh, it's just very fluid for me. It's
Hmm.
not like I'm in the state all the time, really. It's more like if
You're
you
open all
have,
the time to messages,
I,
is what you're saying, right?
yes, because I have, here's part of what has helped. I was a weird kid. Does that make sense? I was not a popular kid. And there was a lot of pain and isolation that came from that, but there was a great deal of permission and
Mm-hmm.
also
Hmm.
alone time. And in
Yes.
alone time, one can be with one's guides and angels and imagination and stuffed animals and the wonder and the inner richness of that part of reality. And because I had so much time as a child to be quirky and alone and with other friends that were also able to go into those places of wonderment, it supported my ability as an adult to not have turned that off so much. But I keep seeing the kind of like I just turned on the garden hose earlier this morning to water plants, that
Hmm.
kind of on off
Hmm.
valve.
Yeah.
And so you may be very well served to look at it in that way, that we all have that valve of spiritual sauce. I love the
Hmm.
connection there. And that what might be needed is a little bit of WD-40 or maybe vegetable oil or glycerin or something on that to that joint that is just rusted shut or just
Hmm.
maybe calcified shut. And so what is the experience for me for channeling is I do have a regular practice of meditation in a very embodied way.
Hmm.
So it's a fluid shift of perspective. But what I do notice is that coming out of it, so going into it's very easy for me. Coming out of it, I'm like, oh yeah, there's a floor. Yeah, I remember that there are such thing as floors. There's a
Hmm.
window. There's some blinds. There's some fabric here. There's a doorway, and there's the rest of my family on the other side of that door. Um, like grounding myself into the normal day-to-day reality, there's a transition zone. Yeah, there's a transition
Yeah.
zone.
I have to say also to our audience that this was not a typical SEH session, of course.
Mm,
I didn't even get to go further into call in Christine's soul to speak to us
mhm,
because she's constantly open anyway. So
mhm,
it just
mhm,
required her to get relaxed enough to just breathe into it and let them in. So, but Christine, I noticed that you talk in when you channel,
mm,
um, you do talk a lot in metaphors,
mm. I do.
and
Yeah.
it's very poetic, very flowy. Um, and at times, um, I had to look back at the question asked because I had to say, are we still on this question?
Are we still on the same topic? Right.
Right,
Mhm,
because it's like it's your guides are so I understand what they're saying, but at the same time they're so flowery
well,
and
they are my guides, right?
and poetic and it's almost like a dance that they're doing.
Well, it is a dance. And so here's what's interesting in terms of working with you or working with me, and what do we do in moments like that, right?
Mhm.
So you and the session that we had, you asked my guides questions, but you didn't stop them and say, "Can you break that down for us, please, in a
Yeah,
more like
yeah, I
ground
know.
grounded or
I
factual or."
almost did stop
Mhm,
them. You know what?
right.
I I was thinking, should and I didn't. You're funny. You took the words right out of my mouth. There was, I think, maybe the third question. I was thinking, okay, I'm getting lost a little bit,
Hmm.
and
Right.
and I was thinking, how can I ask a clarifying question?
Hmm.
But because I got lost, I didn't know how to ask a more detailed question to get your guides to talk about that in a different way.
And so there could be a
So,
few things going into that. One of the things going into that is that Christine, in her environmental scientist job,
yeah.
yesterday had a 20-hour workday. And so Christine's
Yeah.
brain, as the conduit for these messages, is a little, floaty just because I'm
Yeah.
tired. So there's
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just as a practice, it is always okay and very important actually to say, time out. I don't understand what you're talking about. So
Okay.
it is always important when talking to guides, to be constantly asking yourself, do I understand?
Mm-hmm.
Does this feel right to me? Do I get a sense of increased clarity, um, release, appreciation, peace, like all of these settling and
Mm-hmm.
clarifying experiences? Am I getting that, or am I getting muddied and confused? And if you're getting muddied and confused, then it's always important to ask clarifying questions, and
Okay.
important to recognize that as you could say, yes, Christine is always open, Christine is a channel, yet Christine is also like a brain, you know, um a body that's either hydrated or not hydrated. I had a lot
Right.
of coffee
Right.
yesterday. And so I'm not at my tip top right now, and so there could be that maybe I'm, you know kind of getting on that current,
Mm-hmm.
and rather than uh, accessing the highest or the most salient information that is needed at the time. So it's always okay to question the channel, like as in the
Uh-huh.
human being that is the vehicle for the information, and it is always okay to question the information. In fact, critical to do so if
Yeah.
it doesn't feel
I I
right.
would love to have more of these sessions. I mean, there are
Mm.
so many topics I want to talk to your guides about. Um, and I really appreciate the metaphors, but I also want some solid answers too.
Mm.
Some some practical the like the information about putting your feet in salt water.
Right,
That
really
is such a
practical.
healing practice.
Right.
That's an awesome simple thing to do that people can do.
Well, I
And
wonder,
I love that.
Valerie, what if we took 2 to 5 concepts that came through in the channeling, and you ask me to interpret them, because my brain is very used to interpreting these metaphors. So maybe I could help ground the messages now that I'm out of the channeling state. Maybe
Mhm,
if you could
mhm,
just
mhm.
think, like, what were a few of them that came to mind that you thought, oh, that's a
Well,
little
the
weird, or I
karma.
don't quite get it. Okay,
The
karma.
karma I okay, so the karma explained as two sides of a coin.
Hmm.
I understand that. But for the audience,
Hmm.
but I have been doing spiritual stuff for several years and
Right.
I'm
Right.
steeped in it.
Right.
So I get that. It's almost a that's a an advanced level kind of response.
So let's make it simple then. Now that
Yeah.
Christine is back online. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say you are, two kids, your siblings. Let's say a brother and a sister, or two sisters, or two brothers. You are with your sibling, and you're sitting at the kitchen table eating breakfast, and one of you is in a really bad mood and just starts yelling at the other sibling, and you take your bad mood and you just dump it all on that other person, on your sibling.
Mhm.
And your
Mhm.
sibling is like, what the heck, man, I'm just eating my cornflakes, and like it isn't doesn't like have the guards up, isn't ready to be yelled at this way. It's only like 8 in
Mhm.
the morning. And so that other sibling is now, very sad, very upset, very hurt, because it
Mhm.
wasn't like they didn't provoke this, it's just
Right.
being dumped on them. Okay, so that's scene one. Scene two, a few weeks later, a month later, same breakfast table, same siblings, but now the roles are reversed. So now the other sibling gets out of bed, had a bad dream or whatever, is in a really bad mood, and then yells and dumps on the first sibling. So you have now been able to experience both sides of that same situation. You've been
Being
the
hurt
one
and being the
being
one.
mean, like
Yeah.
I'm the one being the asshole, excuse my
Yes.
language, but I'm the one yelling at my sister or my brother,
Mhm.
and that sister or brother is feeling the unfairness of that, the heaviness of that, the confusion of that, the really back to the unfairness of it,
Mhm.
the hurt of it. And then, because we can all relate, right? Like all of us who have
Yeah.
been in any kind of relationship, we're not all, coming from families where there are more than one children, but we can all relate to having a friend, having a partner, having a sibling, having a
Mhm.
coworker, where one time we were doing the yelling and the other time we were receiving the yelling. So that's
Right.
an
We've played
example.
the
Yeah.
villain and the victim. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So that's an example of karma, because karma is the opportunity to experience both sides of the same event. And we
Right.
almost always think of karma as being related
Payback.
to, well, payback. It's like something bad happened. We usually have this like attachment to karma as like, I did something bad, now something bad is going to be done to me.
Right.
But it could also be, I gave love and I was a nurturing partner, and now my partner is going to nurture me. And there's like this, um, karma is often very much like experienced in the same philosophy or thought, uh, concept that
Hmm.
that we we grow through the process of being bad and then being good and then change and switching sides. Or
Hmm.
if we like, often karma is thought of in the way of like, well, let's say like in a past life I murdered somebody, and maybe it was you, Valerie, maybe I murdered you, and
Hmm.
then we come back into a new lifetime and now you're the one murdering me. And so we
Hmm.
often talk about karma with these very dark themes.
Hmm.
But what the guides were trying to explain is that karma is simply the experiencing of two sides of an experience,
Hmm.
whatever that experience is. And it's an experience that has got an opposite. So victim perpetrator, right?
Hmm.
Like that's one of the combinations. And there's a book, phenomenal, wonderful, life-changing book for me, called The Marriage of, is it The Marriage of Spirit? We'll put it in the show notes. Um,
Okay.
Leslie Temple Thurston is the author, and she did such a good job of breaking this concept down. So not using, like, a lot of times when we have terms like sin or terms like karma, these words are so used and used and used, they almost lose their meaning. They
Hmm.
almost become something we don't have the ability to understand because they're talked about so much. So when
Well,
we
and
start,
we're judging them from the ego self. So we are assigning a negative thing on them when they are simply experiences.
right. And so that's what the guides are trying to do when they give imagery instead of just a narrative discussion of
Hmm.
something. Because what
Hmm.
happens is when you can step away from the language, you start to unlock your habitual thought patterns around it, and you actually get some perspective. So if like you're just like if I'm looking at my hand, okay, maybe kind of like my guides, right? Where they're using an image again. I'm looking at my hand, I can't really see it. But if I bring it away
Right.
and I get
You
some
have
distance from it, now I'm
perspective.
like, oh, it's a hand, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you can use so when you can get like find a book that writes about it in a way that kind of shifts your perspective on it, you
Hmm.
look at it from a different angle, then you can start
Yeah.
to understand it and absorb it and integrate it into your consciousness basically. And so this book was that for me, where I was locked in that karmic loop. Well, we all are, right? um, but this really helped me see that that was what was happening, and that ability to see and to perceive something that was so close, like I was so locked in it, it was my experience that I didn't have enough separation and distance from it. But once I could see through reading about it through this other person's perspective, unlocked it for me in a way that I could work
Yeah.
with it rather than it like owning me, right? Like
Yeah.
rather than it,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Did that help? Did that perhaps
Yes.
make more
Yes.
sense
No,
than
it
the
did.
two
It
sides of
did.
the same
Yeah. Yeah.
coin?
Um,
Yeah.
so I think as far as time is concerned, remember I think we're running up on at least a little over an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and for YouTube, I think we have to keep it at
Short-ish.
a shortish, yeah. So, but I would like to do this again.
Well, we can do it again, and we should maybe have less questions so that you can bring me back out and then we can talk about it, because I think that will
Right.
be a useful, like, all right, we just heard this. Let's talk about it now with
Right.
like normal conversation.
Mm-hmm. Using our sort more of our ego mind,
Mm, right.
our
Or more of
discernment.
our day-to-day
Yeah, yeah,
conversational.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
cool. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't expect James Brown. I have not channeled James Brown before.
That is funny. Well, your guides were silly and happy to be here.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? It's like, "Ooh, let's
yeah,
have some fun."
yeah.
That's what
And
we
they
told them we wanted to do.
we told them that. We told them the show was called
Yes.
Spiritual Sauce. We didn't say it was called Spiritual Study, right?
Right, right.
Yeah.
Oh, funny. All right. So, I guess we'll do oh, okay. Never mind. So, wanted to just wrap up and thank you very much for allowing us to show you what SEH can do. Now,
Hmm.
this was an exceptional experience because Christine is already a channel and she just quickly got into that mode and gave us some wisdom. And I hope you enjoyed and got a lot out of what her guides had to tell us about some of the things that I asked her about. I can't remember now.
Yeah. And I'd have to say, I would be very delighted to hear from our audience, especially if you had follow-up questions for the guides. If you, like Valerie, were like, could you tell me more what you meant when you said this or that? I would
Yes,
be interested in hearing your questions and bringing them back to the guides,
right.
as well
And
as
we
to
could
me and
provide
Valerie.
that in a show if we could collect enough questions. We
Yeah.
could actually have uh, Christine channel and provide uh, answers. And we were actually thinking of doing a show where we both channeled
Hmm.
at the same time. We haven't tried it yet, but we thought we'd do it because I also am a channel, and and I've seen two other psychics do it, and they're both very different, but they jive together. And just wondering if our guides will allow that to happen. And I think it would be cool.
Yeah, I think it would be
So,
cool too. That would be really interesting. Although I have to say, there's something about one of us, like it's almost like, so I've got these kites.
oh yeah,
See this angel kite?
yeah, that's
Yeah,
pretty.
I will put the name of the artist in the show notes. But I was like flying high like a kite, and you were like holding me. Like you had the tether,
Yeah,
right? And so there's something useful about one of us being tethered and like, well, okay, I'm gonna pull
yeah.
you back in. It's like
I was
I'm,
feeling at you. That's funny that you say that. I felt like I was the ground
yeah, yeah,
during that session. I really
right.
felt like, okay, I've got to keep her.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm wondering if for you and me, like maybe we'll take turns. Maybe I will, and I don't do SEH, but I could still
Oh, you could
hold
just
space
do
and
it.
tether,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. You
by
could
asking
do
questions
yeah,
and
yeah,
by
just
watching the time, that kind of a thing.
and help me just relax enough to get into it. Yeah. That
Yeah,
that'd be fine.
yeah. Well, very good, Valerie. Thank you. Shall I stop the recording?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
so just
Yeah.
want to thank everyone for watching if you've watched this long. and and um and we hope to do more shows. Stay
Yeah,
tuned.
absolutely. Stay tuned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. You stick around,
Bye.
Valerie. We'll stop the recording.
Okay.